Menahot Daf Lamed Amud Aleph, third to last line. Rav Rabba Rav Hana Havayat Rav and Rahna were sitting. Havaka Halif Azal Gavran, a certain guy was passing by. The Mechasek Limad the Kula Techelta, he had a garment that was fully Techelet. Urmile Techelta, and he had Techelet strings on it. Ugdila Mech Dila, the Techelet was braided with no loose strings at all. Amarav Rav said, "Yatzak lima v'le al techelta." It's a nice garment, but the techelet is not good enough. Rabbi Rav Hana is the opposite. Ya'eg lima v'ya'et techelta. It's good garment, good techelet. What's the machloket? What's the basis? Rabbi Rav Hana said, Rabbi Rav Hana holds k'tiv gedil, k'tiv patil mentions braiding and mentions strings. Or gedil or patil, which means it could be either one. Rav Savar Levan patil b'ina. No, Rav says no. It needs to have a thread. V'ahi gedilim l'minyanadu udata. And the word gedilim adds. It teaches us a number. Gedil Shnai mentions plural gedil. Gidlim Arba'an mentions Gidlim, which means four. And therefore, it teaches you Ase Gidil Upotlehu Mitocha. Make a string that has a braid and let the loose come after it. Okay. Amar Shmuel Meshmedi Levi, Chote Semer Potrin Bishal Pishtan. Woolen threads are good enough for the white strings. If you have, you don't, Yani, they're good even if you have a linen garment, rather. Ibal, I have a question. Shal Pishtan Mao Shif Suru Bishal Semer. What if you have a linen garment? Linen strings. What about a wool garment? Does that work? Or do we say that only linen garment is okay with wool garment linen strings? Sorry, wool strings linen garment. The came into since the techelet is good enough, so the white also can be good enough of wool. But since white linen does not count. Since Pasuki mentioned back to back, don't wear shatnez wool and linen, and then pasuk next says wear sisit. Lo shtan simer pishtim, lo shtan pishtim b'simer, and maybe there's no difference what's the linen garment or the wool garment or the linen strings or the wool strings. Either way is okay. The Gemara says Tashma making proof. Tamar Hava Marav Yehuda Huter Semer Potrin Bishal Pishtan. Woolen strings are good enough for the sisit for garment linen garments. Bishal Pishtan Potrin Bishal also vice versa. Huter Semer Pishtim Potrin Gochmakom. Wool threads and linen are good enough for everything, while people should and even silk garments. Gemara says, "Lo plig derach han argons v'nachman." Nachman says, "Hashira in pitrin asisid." He says silk garments are patur from sisid. Etver about Nachman is a question. Hashiran v'aklan v'asrikin kulan hamisid. Clearly says in the Breta, silk garments, floss silk, which is a type of silkworm silk, and corded silk, which is silk that was corded strongly. They're all chayav sisit if you made it a garment. The Gemara says, no, that's only midrabanan, but b'diraita is a patur. Yach imam sefa. 1 second. The second part of the Brata says, v'chulan simra pishtim potrim behen. All these cases, these type of silks, wool threads and linen are good enough for sisit. Amar b'shlam d'raita. It makes sense to say that it's chayav d'raita. Dahainu d'mishte b'huklan. That's why you're allowed to do kilayim to mix the wool and linen, because the d'raita chiyuv is knocked out by the d'raita of sha'anez gets knocked out by the d'raita chiyuv of sisit. But he's saying it's only chayav in Rabbanan. How can you do kilayim? You can't mix wool and linen together for a non-doraita sisit. Where it says ema or simer opishim. No, it means to say either wool or linen strings are good enough for silk, but not together. Okay. Hachinam is stubborn. I could even prove it. Tana Sefer says, hen, regarding the silk thread, meaning potran, they are good enough for their own kind. Shalom but if it's not for silk, it's not good enough. Isur halacha that you need to see that's why it's good enough with its own kind. Is it possible that specifically that wool or linen is good enough to make tzitzit? So we see from here clearly that the tzitzit in silk is only dabanan. That's not good enough proof. Because Rava says, Rami Rava is tiran pisukim. Mean kanaf. Pasuk says from the corner, which means the corner of the garment itself, same type of material should these strings be made. Oktiv, similar pishim. Another pasuk says wool and linen. How is that possible? Similar pishim potrim minan b'mishluminan. Wool and linen strings are good enough for this tzitzit, whether or not it's the same type as the garment. Sha'ar minin, but the other type of thread, minan potrim, regarding their own kind, it's good enough. Shalom and potrim, but if it's not the type of garment, it's not good enough. So we see from here that tzitzit for silk might be d'oraita, and yet silk screens are good enough. So no proof from the Braita. The Gemara says, "Rachman Rabbi Shmuel, Rachman holds like Rabbi Shmuel, then Rabbi Shmuel. How ill ben emru begadim b'torah zan since the pasuk mentioned garment without telling you what type of garment it is. Uparat lecha aktub be'echad mehen semer b'shim, and the pasuk then specified wool or linen. Av kol semer b'shim therefore teaches you all garments of wool or linen, excluding silk and other types of materials. Marabai says, "V'aytana deber Ishmael." That according to Rabbi Ishmael, mafka meidach tana deber Rabbi Ishmael. He goes against the other other halacha that Rabbi Ishmael's yeshiva taught. Tana Rabbi Ishmael, Bege mentions garment, and the beged semer. I only see wool. Minan rabot semer begevalim semer be'anavim. I don't know that includes wool of camel, rabbit, or goat feathers. Specifically, goat feathers because it's very fine hair, and it's not sheared. It's plucked. And silk and faux silk and corded silk are also chayav. To Milamar, all beged, Torah says garment, which includes all types of begadim. Tinranan, Sedim b'sisit, linen wrap in sisit. Beshamayim Beshamayim is patur. Betil hamachayim betil chayav. Whether or not too much on this. Marabi Lazar v'Esilok, follow call matil tichel b'Yerushalayim inoma eliminamatin. Pasuk says, whoever puts tichel in his linen wrap in Yerushalayim is people are shocked to see them because it's considered sha'anez. Rabbi says, Im kain lama asru. If that's the case, why did Bet Hillel say to put the chelet in a linen wrap? Why did Hachamim in Yerushalayim made it asur? Because people are not knowledgeable, and therefore they think that they don't realize that sha'anez would only be mutar specifically when it's chayav and tzitzit. And if that's the case, they see you wearing the tzitzit with linen, they might think that all cases of sha'anez is okay, and that's why they'll make a mistake. Okay, let people 10 tzaddikim go, put tzitzit on their linen wraps, and show the marketplace that you're allowed to wear it. And it'll become publicized. What is kosher kingdom? No, more people will be shocked. It's not gonna it'll just increase the amount of people who are confused and make mistakes. Let them teach in a shi'ur that's mutar. The Gemara says gezerah mishum kala ilan. We're worried that people might use dye their tzitzit with indigo blue instead of techelet, and that is sha'anez because since it's indigo blue and it's not techelet, it won't be considered tzitzit, and you're wearing regular wool linen. Okay, but so if that's the case, who cares if it's indigo? Let it be considered white. I don't care what color it is. It's a good shrink. Where says since technically you're able to do it with regular white threads. No. So since you're able to do it with regular white and you're using something else, that's when it's not good. That Makar says anytime you have a positive command or negative commandment, if you're able to do both, do it. If not, then the positive command overrides the negative commandment. And therefore, regarding techelet, if you have techelet for sha'anez to override the sha'anez by tzitzit, good. But if you don't, and you don't do it, then you're chayav in sha'anez. So if you use indigo instead of indigo blue instead of techelet, you'd be chayav sha'anez because you didn't do it correctly.